Another 2 matches down, and FC Cincinnati moves into, I guess you can call it the final part of the season. These next few will decide their top 4 finish and likely play some part in how the other chips fall around the league. Eastern Conference definitely looks like a bit of a wild west with most of the teams still eligible and even close to a playoff spot. So it's pretty difficult, I think, to look down the list and figure out who's going to pull it all off. I know I'm interested in what these guys are thinking as we get into the show, especially even Nashville's got a chance in like 11th place or whatever. All I know is that I'm happy to have these road matches behind us and looking forward to getting back to TQL Stadium. You are listening, of course, to Cincinnati Soccer Talk, either live or via our podcast, and we thank you for tuning in. I'm Boston Brazel, joined by Brian Weigel, Justin Blair, and Bill Taylor. We're happy you're with us tonight. As always, we're supported by Apollo Home Beyond Exercise and, well, a bunch of awesome fans over on Patreon that just love local soccer media. So shout out to them. Let's get our cast in here and get right into the show. We'll bring in Mr. Justin Blair first. What was your game of the week? Wednesday or Saturday, Sunday?
I think that obviously Wednesday for the 3 points was probably my game of the week, but I was super impressed. I'll jump into my best. My best was that response down in Nashville, right? Going down a goal twice and just showing our resilience. That's something that this team really made their bed with last year in 2023 with continuing to grind out points. And it was good to see us do that. As far as the worst, I would say probably it appears that the supporter shield is probably out of reach at this point. Miami it has been dropping points as of late, but it looks like they're probably going to walk away with this one in the next couple weeks.
Yeah, you would have had to put them away early, I imagine, to even stay in the running there. But thank you, Justin. We appreciate you being on as always. Bill Taylor back in action after a few weeks off. Glad to have him back on the mic. You good? How you doing?
Glad to be back. How are you guys doing tonight?
All right. Well, tell us what you saw this week, best and worst, and what's on your mind.
Well, I think some of the best, obviously, is the results, right? 3 games, 8 days, 5 points. You got to love the action. You got to love the excitement. And to Justin's point, you got to think the never say die attitude. They get down. They never think that they can't score, which is important, especially this time of year, especially with the new looks, the new faces, the new lineups. I mean, it's just all around good team effort, good team play. Now, if we get to the opposite and go the worst, I've got to say that first goal allowed in the last match, FC has shown they've had issues. I've said it before, right? So beginning of the game, end of the half, beginning of the second half, end of the game. They just come out. They don't seem like they're ready to play. And it doesn't seem like that defense, they stood while the other team moved to the ball. We stood and watched the ball, right? I mean, that's basic, Brian. I mean, that's youth soccer stuff. It just seems like we came out unready to play. Celentano has every right to be very aggravated at this point with that line in front of him. And I just hope they can keep up some kind of chemistry and maybe build on their mistakes and learn, and that Pat Noonan gets them fully prepared moving into the playoffs. I hope we can keep that second place seed.
Well, I still got 4 points and 2 away games. You can't beat them up too bad there, Bill.
No, not too bad. Not too bad. It's a good spot, Boston. It's a good spot.
All righty. Mr. Brian Weigel is half on this show, half like I imagine. I'm willing to wager our live attendance tonight is decimated by the Bengals being on at the same time. So you with us, Brian, or are you watching touchdowns?
Well, I'm trying to. Definitely not watching touchdowns right now, but yeah, glad to be on here. It's been a busy couple weeks of soccer in my household, averaging like 5 games each weekend, and I think 4 nights of practice and games. So it's been fun. Excited to watch FC Cincinnati through all that as well. I think my game of the week was Saturday afternoon at Stephanie Hummer Field. But other than that, no, it's good to see. My best of the week was Lucho starting to get to be Lucho again. I always make the joke of sticky foot Lucho, and I think you started to see that a little bit more. And we can go as far as Lucho can take us. I know we've said that it's kind of cliche, but in reality, that's kind of our deal. So it's great to see him getting there. My worst, to echo Bill's points, is while our defense might not be as bad as the Cincinnati Bengals, it is looking a little shaky right now. It kind of scares me. Now, that revolving door of midfielders, unfortunately, it seems like we had everything under lock and key. Now it's, we'll see what happens with Pavel Buka, and hopefully he can be back to the game soon, back to the team soon. But yeah, man, just not knowing where to track on some goals, losing guys, just making things a little too easy for the competition. While I still felt that we dominated possession versus Nashville, there was times that we just didn't look solid across the back. And then you look at the last 20, 30 minutes versus Minnesota. Those guys didn't look like they necessarily were up for that battle. So I think Matt Miazga is looking great through all this right now. But yeah, that's kind of my worst. But overall, still winning a draw over the weekend. Can't be too upset when you're on the road like that. Such good road form this year.
Yeah. Is Stephanie Hummerfield named after the person that invented the Hummer? Just out of curiosity, did Stephanie invent the Hummer?
Whatever you want it to be, pal.
That would be the U.S. DOD. That would be.
Oh yeah, fair point. No, I got to go to Nashville. I was lucky. That's going to be my best. I guess my counter best is I'm also really, really looking forward to playing LAFC. I think we're going to find out where we're at. Nashville, if we get into my worst, we always just play bad against Nashville. I don't know if it's the way that they roll out against us or their front three just decides to get hot every single time we play. It's kind of interesting. And they caught us sleeping several times in this one. We had some Argentinian feet that kept us in this match, thankfully. But run a play, I think Nashville was doing a pretty good job of lulling us into sleep and then making a break and just completely running us over. So happy we walked out of there with a draw. I took a first-time Tennessee fan, someone from Tennessee, never been to a soccer game in their life. They didn't even know Nashville had a professional soccer team, and they bought a Nashville SC hat. So maybe I created a soccer fan. Maybe I created a Nashville fan accidentally, but it's kind of cool that there might be another person that becomes a MLS soccer fan in the United States. So
I mean, you couldn't do better though. I mean, you couldn't really put your voodoo out there and get him to not be such a loser.
I mean, he definitely liked the way we played. He thought Acosta was awesome, but I think going to games versus watching a team on TV every single week is probably better for him.
Grow the game. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna jump into it a little bit more, but first we want to give a shout out to our top of the show sponsor, Apollo Home. If you have HVAC, plumbing, or electrical needs, reach out to them. They have been serving the greater Cincinnati and southern Dayton areas for over 110 years, which blows my mind. And they would love to help you if you ever need anything. Give them a call, apollohome.com as well. So shout out to our sponsors there. All right, let's dive into the midweek match. FC Cincinnati head away to Minnesota. And if you don't know, that's the team with the sassy admin on Twitter. They've trolled us many times over the years. FC Cincinnati, however, walk away with the win in this one, 2-1. They even give them a penalty. That's how good FC Cincinnati looked midweek. What's your big takeaway from this match, Justin?
My big takeaway is, like, I think a lot of fans were saying it, but Minnesota fans were just screaming for that second penalty, and that was hilarious. It's like, I think we didn't get a good angle on the Dado Valenzuela handball is what they were screaming for, but like
pretty late in the match, right?
Yeah, it was I think that was the last run of possession in that game. But I mean, like, for a team like Minnesota, and of course they've had difficulties adjusting with a new coach, coming in on the fly, trying to learn the whole like system as the season's going. That was a bold move by them, but for FC Cincinnati to just kind of go up there into it's Allianz Field, right? And just take it to Minnesota. And I know we gave up the penalty, which was a silly mistake, but like what I took away is there was no excuses on our side on the night, and for Minnesota fans, it was good to see them whining as opposed to one of those 7-1 results.
Yeah, I'm glad to put that behind us again.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so it's easy. Scoreline maybe looks better than it felt at times. What'd you think, Bill, as far as the defense in this one?
Well, I mean, obviously we should have dominated on defense other than a couple of lapses. It was good to see the defensive backs kind of hold their own against a well-paced front line. I mean, Minnesota is admittedly a team that we should beat, but I get to Awaziem. I'm not sure if he's quite fit into the system yet. He seems to stay a little far off, and he's always playing catch up, and then a little bit of attitude in the last match. But we want to stay on Minnesota for now. It just seems to me like looking at the Minnesota game.
Talking about the guy that delivered the inch perfect pass on the first goal and has basically been given the task of distributing every ball forward from that right center back spot.
Let's not confuse offensive prowess with defensive ability and acumen. Okay.
There you go.
Well, but he's not being tested completely there.
Well,
he's getting pushed outside.
It just seems like he's a little bit he's in unfamiliar territory. I'll give him that.
Sure.
Just another couple of matches to get him ready and get ready for that playoff season and keep that back three healthy. And, I think we can accomplish great things in the playoffs, and I certainly hope that. But I understand, right? When they brought him here, I don't know if you guys watched his promo clip. What was the first part of the promo clip? Was him scoring a goal, right?
Yeah,
but he's a defender, right? But of course, everybody wants to highlight the goals and the assist. But I look at I'm a very defensive-based coach. I'm a very defensive-based individual. I think defense is what wins you the matches and the championships. You have to be able to score. And we've shown that we can do that this year, which is way different than we started the season. That's a lot of progress with a lot of moving chess pieces. And up front, I still think, Minnesota game showed that, we do have some flexibility. We got some depth. We have some ability offensively. And I think that's what's ultimately going to carry us. But the sloppiness in the back, the penalties out inside the box, I mean, there's really no excuse at this level for those. I mean, you might as well just grab the ball with your hands if you're going to make a tackle like that in the box. So
I don't think he saw him, though. I don't think he just kicked really high. And
yes, of course.
To go back to Awaziem, though, I've been thinking about this, is how it's, is he really in the best spot? Would we rather him be as the center back?
Yes.
Or do we want him off the right side? We want to bomb our fullbacks forward and get them in the attack. So, I mean, who's the better person to do that? Awaziem. Now, unfortunately, Miles Robinson is a better 1v1 defender who I would rather have isolated in space versus Awaziem. So to your point there, I think that's more of a setup thing versus Awaziem being a poor player. I think that's not a role he's used to or is potentially his best attribute. But
no, I would never call him a poor player by any stretch. He's definitely MLS capable. I think he needs just a little more seasoning, but I do like your idea of moving him forward, right? You got the height, you got the ability to distribute. Robinson in the middle. The problem is, where does Yedlin fit into this mix? Do we use him as a defender outside? What is the perfect lineup, I guess, in the defensive 4 or 5?
Sure. I think that's something, you could even go towards the forward group. Who do we want to put there? And it's kind of been hampered with injuries, yellow card suspensions, and just that overall lack of familiarity. And you'd hope over these last 4 games that we'd be able to figure that out a little bit better than we have. Kind of to your point, not only just the defenders. Like, I was completely sold on Kelsey. I've been kind of dogging him most of the year. I think the last show I was on here, I said there's no chance he's coming back. I've heard that through the Vine with, the club, that he's not necessarily in the long-term plans. But he looks a hell of a lot better out there than Nico Guancini. Joe Keeney. That was terrible. I sound like Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle.
Yeah, man.
I prefer Kelsey over Nico, and yet on Saturday, rotation, you saw Nico and Santos, and I just was so underwhelmed by that striker pairing versus what I saw with Kelsey and Kubo midweek. So while it's nice to have a decent number of players, nobody has really grasped those roles outside of Kubo, and we needed him in the midfield versus, for some reason, no Malik Pinto. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, a lot of rotation because we didn't have Buka midweek either, or end of week either. So.
I think the biggest thing concerning the forwards, if we can continue on this sidetrack, I think Lucho being out when we bring in Joe Aquini, I think that really hurt the chemistry there. I think that Joe Aquini is one of those players that can really find a form with Lucho style of play. Particularly, I mean, we saw it with Burner, a player that can really drop back in defense, but also be somebody that's dynamic enough to enter the ball into the box. Something that we get really well with our guys that fan favorites, Luco Orishano or Yoya Kubo playing up forward. But I think Joe Aquini in the future would be a better option. I think right now Kelsey doesn't really fit the bill, right? We're playing the ball through the channels, and for us to have a really big physical hold-up play forward, it's just not working out at this moment. I was really impressed with his play the game before the Hellas Real Derby. I think he was really going after it. I think the one before that, I'm kind of scrambling to remember, but just after the Leagues Cup, we had that match, and noticeably Kelsey was playing a lot harder, like his pants were on fire. But I think for Kelsey, it's just being kind of in no man's land, kind of like what we were saying with the Wazium, playing in a different kind of position, different kind of role. I think on a team that was a little bit more playing the ball long, playing it ball forward, something like the 2021 FC Cincinnati or 2022 FC Cincinnati, I think he would have found himself in better opportunities.
This guy sacrificed his nose, though. Busted it in Minnesota. So I didn't know it was that bad until they just were, I guess, sopping it up with a towel. So and then we saw the villain. I was hoping, then I was like, all right, he's a new person. Now he's a bad guy. He's got the mask on Saturday. So didn't work. Hero Nico and villain Nico are the same Nico, unfortunately. But all right, I appreciate those thoughts, Justin. If you're gonna give one up on a PK, it's all right as long as you just get two in the goal first. So I will say my favorite moment of the match was Kubo being a classic good sport Kubo. Instead of immediately just partying in the corner celebrating his goal, he turns around and he make sure his center back knows I saw that assist. That was a heck of an assist, and I love Kubo for that. The team celebrations. Big fan of Kubo. All right, so Roman Celentano, we beat up on him a couple weeks ago. Then we thought he had a great performance. You saw two matches here, Minnesota. I guess you could blame him for not stopping the PK, but overall, seemed to do all right. And then Nashville. What's the where are we at going in the playoffs? Are you comfortable with Roman now?
Oh, 100%, 100%. Best keeper in the net. One of the best I've seen. But he's got to develop that chemistry with the guys in front. He hasn't been beat over the top. They don't really beat him near post much. I mean, I think he has the size, the style, the experience. I love the way he plays. Not too aggressive, but aggressive enough, I guess is the way I'd like to put it. But as far as his being a bit of a goalkeeper specialist, his form is phenomenal. His quickness is phenomenal. The kick saves at the last second. I mean, he's kept us in several matches. Several matches have been either a tie result or a victory because of some of his saves, no doubt.
Yeah, I think what really stood out to me in that Minnesota game was Roman going out and getting the ball. I mean, how many times did we watch him just kind of, paralyzed in the moment and trusting the center backs? Roman was out there diving over players. I think there was one collision that was kind of hairy in the Minnesota game, but it was really impressed to see that. And we kind of forget, super draft 22 guy. I mean, he's played a ton of minutes for FC Cincinnati, but he's still young, still growing into the sport, growing into the league.
Yep. All right. And then I think Brian put the XG stats down here, 1.9 versus 1.1. It's one of the few games I actually see where the XG pretty much pans out exactly 2-1. So FCC did exactly what they're supposed to do, I guess. Is that why you have that here, Brian?
We gotta unmute myself next time. I just think overall, they actually had the better XG than us.
Oh, you're right. I can't read.
Yes.
In
So
favor of Minnesota.
I think in when you look at Roman, giving the 4 saves, but I just think it kind of goes back to that point that we just kind of allowed them over the last little bit to drive down our throat, where we were more confident in possession. But and there's another thing, and Bill, you might disagree with me a little bit. In both games, I felt like we were so damn slow in our build-up play, and it allowed both teams to set up shop defensively. And it's very difficult on our forwards to break it down. When we were able to score is when we got out into space quickly. I don't know. That's just something like you even see Pat Noonan on the sidelines, like trying to calm everybody down, slow the ball down. And that just kind of confuses me a little bit more when, with speed, we generate more chances. When we're slow, it doesn't seem to be clicking. I think that XG was pretty evident of that. I think we had like 70% of possession versus Nashville this past weekend, but our XG in that game was like 0.8 to 0.7. I mean, it's even. So, I would like us to kind of see us kind of ratchet up that speed of play a little bit more. But overall, it is very surprising how we were able to beat Minnesota so well, and yet that XG was kind of towards their favor.
Well, it's really hard to I can't really find fault with you there, Brian. If you're wanting an argument, I don't think you're going to get one. I'm a big fan of the fast transition because defensively, if you are allowed to set up, it becomes, instead of a 4-on-3, it becomes a 4-on-5. And Nashville did a very good job of recovering back on defense in transition. We'd slow it down. They didn't slow down. They recovered.
Mm-hmm.
Totally understand. In the Nashville game, I mean, you have to admit, even in the Minnesota game, both teams had several quality chances. And it just seems like we had more, which we did. And we just couldn't finish them. And a part of that might be slowing that down and maybe not taking advantage of our speed up front. Orejano seems his quickness is absolutely amazing. And I love him in tandem with Lucho and Kubo. I mean, I think that's got to be somewhere. That's got to be your attack up front. It's got to be those 3 guys. Somebody's got to be, one of those 3 has to be involved.
Yeah, I think particularly when you're depending so much on Orejano to be the attacking option, like you're really like we were saying, you're giving up a lot of chances when there's quick transitions for both Minnesota and for Nashville, when you're having a guy having to track back from box to box like that. If Orejano can find a nice even ground, I know we've played around with different positions, but having to ask Orejano to always float back and play defense in those situations, particularly when they get the ball just into the attacking third, is when they find that comfort, that space, the opposing team. So if we could find a different option to kind of glue in that, having Pavel Vuka would also help in that situation. But I think you're totally right. I think Orejano needs to play a little bit more higher up.
I loved you talking about the speed. Nashville was very direct. I felt like when they didn't have the ball a lot, but when they did, they were direct and targeted, and it didn't always work. They'd have to force their way back out. I swear, FC Cincinnati has got to be the most patient team in Major League Soccer because boy, we are slow and we kick it around the field and we try it from every angle. And there was a series where I wish I knew how many times we passed the ball because it had to be like 35. It had to be 35 passes, 5 straight minutes without a single yellow jersey on that ball.
Yeah.
Versus Nashville.
There was that one. I'm struggling to remember which game it was, but I think it was the dying moments of the Minnesota game. But you could see Emil Assad like screaming to flip the field because we were just slowly passing the ball along our back line, and it's like we have acres of space on the left. Please just get risky a little bit. You can't sit there and try to bunker in those situations. Sorry about that. I found that particularly funny because Emil Assad, particularly in Leagues Cup, was one of those more aggressive players that were going to push the ball up forward.
Yeah, which I didn't quite understand because our center backs were getting really high up the field. So it's like we have all these players pushing forward, yet we're still it seemed to be so slow at times and patient and I mean it does eventually sometimes work into things, but somehow even with all that patience, we find ourselves forcing things at the last minute straight through the middle. One thing I did notice, and I want to know if any of you guys know the answer to this. I don't. I just know it's a long time. When's the last time FC Cincinnati had a goal on a corner kick?
I mentioned that like 2 months ago, that their set plays, they just don't seem to capitalize on those. How many balls have gone far post and just keep going, right?
In league play?
In league play. We're saving them all for playoffs, right? We have to be all the good plays. We don't want to tip our hand too early.
Yeah. Is this an honest question? Like now I'm like gaming here. I'm trying to figure
I know
this
it's
out.
early summer, but I don't know. June, July.
Yeah, it feels like it for sure.
Yeah,
June.
It's got to be June. There's no way it wasn't July.
There was an Olympico that was disallowed. I think that was in Leagues Cup. But
yeah, Acosta doesn't take them all now, so we don't see as many Olympicos.
Mm-hmm.
But Orishano tried one the other day. I don't know if it was this week, but he tried one recently.
The Harris Medunian. You see Clifford Adams in the chat. Harris Medunian. No.
Is he saying that's the last time we scored?
I guess so.
Harris Medunian was on the team. Oh, I believe it if you told me. All right, but how about that? We are not as bad on set pieces because we can go just 0 games back on that. Anybody blown away by Luca or Orishano yet? Like if you weren't already?
No. I mean, the kid is special, and hopefully we can retain him. I don't know how the mechanics work on that buy option. You would think in the MLS we have first rights for that, but I mean, it's probably leaning toward Europe if we don't purchase him. I mean, he's unbelievable.
We buying him, Brian. You're the expert.
I hope so. I don't care how much it costs. He's a playmaker, and I just think we need to reevaluate our formation and how he best fits it, and how our personnel fit or don't fit those roles. So I think that's a big question mark going into this offseason if we do want to bring him in as a full-time player. I'm not sure the 5 in the back options it anymore, or kind of what Bill said, bring him up top, bring him forward at least.
Yeah. Do you think it's kind of one of those situations like you have the toys in the toy box, so you have to play them, like Baird and Santos and Kelsey and Gioacchini? Like, do you feel like it's one of those situations where he's getting pushed back there, or do you think that Pat has identified that as his best position as the right wing back?
Well, this week, you had to sit, you played Yedlin midweek, so he was on the left, and then you gave Yedlin rest and you moved him back right. You took Assad out later in the game and you moved him back left. So I think is comfortable either side. Is he better one side or the other? I personally, I think he's better on the right, but you have so much damn money tied up in Yedlin. I think that's just kind of what you have to do right now is put him over on the left side.
But particularly with the forward, like, do you think that's one of those deals where you're literally just hoping that you're gonna have something break through at some point with Kelsey or Santos or something like that? Because like we saw how effective he was. Now there was a few games after that Inter Miami game. We saw how effective he was in Inter Miami, right? And we're not going to always be playing some 38-year-old center back. But do you think you just mentioned that having him maybe change positions if we do sign him for next season?
If we formation change is what I'm going after.
That's what you think would be more expected.
I think if you want to put him as a designated player or an extremely high valuable player, he's going to be more effective up there versus a left back role.
Yeah, I think you also need to figure out what you're going to do with some of the swing and misses up front. I think, as we alluded to.
Well, nobody up top right now is in the plans for the future.
Well, is how long is Baird's contract?
Baird is a $500,000 player as a backup. So maybe he's signed, but like he's Santos. You know, he's here on big money, and if we can get rid of him, we can get rid of him. But if not, I mean, he's the guy off the bench.
You say that. You watch us sign Santos one more year.
It's gonna happen. Trust us, right, Boston? It's gonna happen.
Yeah, but you bring up a good point about the changing positions because you need to eventually figure out what you're doing with Yuya Kubo. I mean, he's clearly shown acclimate.
No, why?
Why? Because
he's better as that flex player. He's not. He is the guy. He's the best 12th player in the league. He's the best. If we can bring him in with 30 minutes to go, we are such a better team that way.
But I think he is way more effective, in my opinion. I think he's way more effective either playing the wing or the forward position. I don't think he's a very good player in the midfield. I think he gets lost at times. I think he plays way too high when he plays the 10 role. I think whenever he's filling in for Obi, he's kind of, I mean, he's not Obi, but he's also not very good at the 6. So
I get what you're saying, but I also will push back a little bit and say I don't think Kubo in there, even in the midfield, is costing you games.
No.
I think most of the time he holds his own or he's beneficial.
But
his worst case scenario is holding his own for the most part.
Do you think it would be better to like solidify a reserve position for him though, or at least 2, narrow it down to 2 instead of?
I like the idea. Only because I think he wouldn't put up a huge fight over it. Like he's not going to demand to be traded.
No,
because he's a 60-minute, 70-minute player.
No.
Plus,
there's going to be
in
the league.
Yeah, there's going to be stuff. So, he's going to be in. He's played a lot this year.
I love Kubo. I appreciate the value he brings to the team. But if you have the ability to go out and add a home run signing it forward, you do that every day of the week and you put Yuya Kubo on the bench. I love Yuya. I think he's a special player, but he's not exceptional. He's done some great things this season, but he's not a Cucho level player, which is what we were trying to bring in this last window.
All right, anybody got anything else on Nashville, or we'll turn the page and give our friends at Beyond a shout out?
Scares me a little bit that we weren't able to put them away a little bit more, especially when things seem to be trending back our way. So, again, I think that has the lack of amazing change makers off the bench, and that's why I love Yakubo.
Is anybody still complaining about the what was it? The lack of.
Oh, we're not even going to talk about. I would say, how are we going to just skip over the offside? Boston just completely glossed over that.
No, I didn't get a great look at it, but I did see some contact by Emil Assad. So for me, I just kind of leaned okay.
Yeah, I skipped over it because I was in the stadium and they weren't showing any replays, and I had to go to Twitter to figure out if it was.
How did you feel about it, Bill?
So here's the deal. So from coaching for so many years, if it's not called, it's not a penalty, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if you've ever argued with an official, have they ever changed their mind? Not one single time. What do you do? I mean, it's offsides is one of those rules that, if you're not a soccer fan, you don't understand it. It's at the time the ball is played forward. I mean, where do you draw the line? Is it a millimeter?
No, they did say it with the player the shot taken was not offside. They said it's interference by another player.
Yeah.
So that's the official, but that is overlooked so much. And he wasn't in the keeper's face. He wasn't. That's the weird thing about it. One, the call was late, right? Really late.
Yeah.
And it was after the Tennessee players pleaded their case, and then it's not on the shot taker. It's on somebody else who was moving back towards the ball anyway.
I just feel like the contact, the rub was enough because the guy, it'd be one thing if he was like trailing a trail player or a player that's coming from the outside, but he is literally in position to cut that ball out.
Rules of the game, I think the referee is 100% right. You just don't see that one.
Agreed.
You guys are ridiculous. You guys are so ridiculous.
Let's hear it.
Thank God it helped us later. Thank God that interpretation helped us later. But like in this particular play, Yamil Assad was offside when the shot happened or whatever. But the dude moved like 2 feet over the span of 10 seconds. Like literally, he was just letting Gioacchini dribble out that way. And do we freaking have to give the defender of Nashville like some crap here? I mean, the dude was out of position. He was scrambling. How the hell are we victimized for his crappy ass play?
I think it's
literally.
Yeah.
We weren't getting in the goalkeeper's way. We weren't inhibiting him. He was standing literally. There's like a batter's box, but like the batter's entitled to that space. Like, how the hell is Yamil Assad not entitled to stay as still as a damn statue? And yet he's bullshit. Sorry.
He's not.
You have to edit that one out. That was an absolute crap. The worst offside interpretation call I think I've ever seen in my life. How many plays in free kicks are like that? I mean, it was absolute malarkey. My favorite word right there. I won't say the BS word anymore.
But he wasn't
champion word right there, Bill.
He wasn't standing still though, Brian.
He moved 2 feet. He literally was
trying to get back onside, and he ran into the defender.
This is his move right here.
Did he affect the play?
I don't care if he affected the play. It was the reason why it, if anything, affected the play is because the jabroni defender was like falling all over the place and flailing everywhere. He had to go back one way because he got his butt cooked. He got his butt cooked. The referee bailed the dude out on a technicality.
Yeah.
Now we got helped kind of somewhat a little bit later, but in that interpretation of the rule, I think it's absolute crap. I'm so pissed off.
Don't let it keep you up at night, man. What's done is done. Right?
Dude, I've had so many bad ref decisions over the past couple of weeks.
Now, if Luka didn't score the tying goal, I may feel a little bit differently.
Well, and what Brian's hinting to is they exercised the exact same rule on a potential Nashville goal. So they said that there was a second guy offsides for that too. So apparently the referees just read that rule, studied up on it right before the game, really wanted to exercise it much.
I really think that this MLS, it's starting to get a little ridiculous. Like the VAR and the refs and the league all being in cahoots, and freaking eagle eye big brother VAR paging down and being, hey, maybe you should take a look at that again. Maybe that guy was probably offside. You probably should put your flag up. Freaking 28 seconds after the damn play happened.
The reason I'm mad, that's the reason I'm mad.
Unbelievable.
That was not going to go to VAR regardless of which way it was called.
Unbelievable.
It's a goal. Whatever gets called on the field stands there.
Sure.
I don't think you go to VAR and then say that guy is, it's the second person's offside. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think if it was an egregious one, then yeah, but I don't think that the VAR official should have
if you
buzzed that
VAR
one
that
down.
later, then you have to prove he's hindering the play, which is a lot harder. It's a higher
Yeah.
burden to prove. They
Yes,
should have kept the flag down.
agreed.
But all right, let's give a shout out to Beyond Exercise, the local physical therapy and fitness business that helps Cincinnatians stay active and injury free. In fact, they've helped some of our local MLS Next and FCC Academy players with their health and performance needs. Check out their suite of services. Go beyondexercise.com. We appreciate them. We also appreciate all of you over on our Patreon page going for the Growler Cup. We're giving away a FCC jersey to finish out the year. So the players that are up and doing that and supporting Cincinnati Soccer Talk are Red Lee, John Davidson, Mike Hudson, Robert Stevens, Laurel Failer, Matthew Adamczyk, Riley Stephen Burke, James Denbrough, Tom Newhouse, Brian Weigel, Brian Gills, Will Kychek, Ian Rexroad, Carl Fight, Christina Sharma, Kyle Pohl, Rupesh, Tom Beaversdorf, Jason, who is super average, Ryan Ernst, Rob Pierce, Clifford Adams, Thomas Theft, Pierce Johnson, Mike Parentis, David Wiederhold, Rob Gassell, Bradley Weigel, Alex Carnegus, Dave Tingler, Patrick Lahani, Mike Bowman, Brett Sova, the Doge, Joe Max, Jack Emery, David Moore, Bob Ryan, Ryan Durkin, Bart Labita, Robe Trappell, Joe Lohr, Bill Leopold, Marine de Moray, Jose, John Caffardi, Justin Blair, Ashley Newhouse, Dan Burns, Mark Andrew Klippinger, Said, Jeffrey Tibbetts, The Troll, Jackson Fight, Matt Bauer, Mark Godsey, Todd Schruenbeck, Eric Johnson, Anthony Hudson, and Daniel Hammer. Thank you, all of you, for supporting CST. Let's talk a little playoffs, guys. There's 4 matches till FCC's done. We got the big one this week, so you feel free to throw in a little LAFC hype if that's got you going. First up is LAFC, of course. And then I think we play New York City FC. And who are our last 2?
Orlando and Philadelphia.
Orlando, Philly.
Yeah,
So it's
good
home
4
versus
games.
LA at New York midweek in Red Bull Arena, which is hilarious.
No.
So funny. It is so funny. Can you not say no? It's hilarious.
I'm saying no in disappointment and frustration that it even has to happen. It's enjoy it, Brian. It's only a year or 2 away from
Dude,
their
I can't
own
wait for
stadium.
that NYCFC.
It's not a
stadium.
baseball
It's gonna be
stadium,
awesome.
dude.
The NYCFC
Like,
stadium's gonna be so sweet.
I'm so happy that it's not the Yankees stadium.
Oh,
That's all.
Or the Mets Shea Stadium, whatever, or City Field, whatever.
Yeah.
they call it. No, I just think it's hilarious. Then we play Orlando at home, and then a 2-week break, and then have decision day versus Philadelphia. So we play some pretty hot teams right now. All the teams that we do play are most certainly playoff teams.
I'm fine with it though, because we're pretty much locked top 4, and I think you want to.
We're almost locked top 3.
Yeah, I think you want to get these hard ones as a practice. Like this is run
Okay.
up. This is your camp. This is your camp before the playoffs. FC Cincinnati needs to get used to playing some tough games and get used to winning and players gelling against a high competition. I mean, come on. If you're playing LAFC and Philadelphia, who's also hot right now, right before you have to go in and play Columbus again, I think it's good.
I mean, Philadelphia's going to knock Columbus out of the playoffs, so it doesn't really matter.
I'm there all day for that.
I will take that for sure.
Yeah,
I think they should struggle coming down the stretch and take out a certain Argentinian and company. That'd be nice.
Anybody worried about Philly on decision day?
No.
Yeah, I am. Certainly, they're extremely hot. They're playing there. I think there could be some big seeding applications that day. So yeah, that's certainly going to be a challenge. LAFC, they play their US Open Cup final midweek, so we might be a little lucky this week. They have a lot of emotions riding on that game. So maybe we catch them. What'd you say, Giroud? Giroud's playing. Carlos Vela might be playing. Might see some names. I was actually really looking forward to go to this match. Unfortunately, now I have some family commitments, so we aren't going to be able to go to this game. But I just, if we can make some confidence, generate some confidence off this match, it's going to be a playoff level type environment. So kind of what you said, it's kind of a dress rehearsal for what we have in the future.
Yeah.
MLS Cup final preview. So we'll see.
LAFC was super good, but they have not won a match in 5 games in a month.
You're right.
And Giroud hasn't scored a goal. So
yeah. So they have a lot of talent. They're almost a little bit FCC-ish in a way. A lot of talent, but it's all competing and it's not gelling. So I still wouldn't take it for granted. They could come in here and punch us in the mouth because all that talent just magically starts piecing together. Of course it will.
Aaron Long could get it in Lucho's face. We get a red card. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, that's a good 4 games. I think we all agree on that. Let me pull up the good old Eastern Conference standings, which, by the way, if you're doing this, don't just type Eastern Conference in the Google like I did, because MLS is not the first choice.
I bet not.
But right now it's Toronto and Philadelphia in that 8 and 9 spot. I think the really wild thing about this year is that they have 36 points each. With 3 or 4 games left for most of these teams, you've got Montreal, Atlanta, Nashville, DC, all less than 3 points. 3 points or less behind them. So literally the 13th place team can still be 9th place in like a week or 2. So out of these teams, Toronto, Philadelphia, Montreal, Atlanta, Nashville, DC, Chicago, who are you putting in there? Who are your 2 you're putting in the wild card? Because you have a pretty big list there, and technically most of them can make it.
Yeah, I don't think Philadelphia is going to be on that line. I think they're going to find a way to shoot themselves up there. If I had to go with one, gosh, that's tough.
Who's on the outside? Who's on the outside looking in?
Nashville.
Doyle said Nashville today.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that are just super streaky and super dependent on Sam Surge to kind of pop off, and he's just not one of those guys. So I think Nashville's going to find themselves a little bit too far behind at this point. Yeah, I don't know. It's really difficult because Charlotte's found themselves in more of a comfortable spot. So I feel like with the games that they have remaining, I think they have a game against correct me if I'm wrong, Inter Miami. So that could be
Charlotte scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like I think they've really put it on the line for themselves. I think the teams that I really feel are going to be there is New York Red Bulls, Philadelphia, and Charlotte. I think those are the best teams in the East, and then that wild card spot's going to be chaos.
Yeah, I'm hoping Nashville misses out because they play us really well. I don't actually think Nashville will do anything. They can't win 4 playoff games against playoff teams in a row unless they're just super lucky. But they could play us well, and that's the only one I don't want in there. I think we can handle Montreal or Atlanta if they happen to win and get in there. But all right, Bill, you see anything you like?
Well, for me, it's obviously I'm kind of with Justin on this one. Philadelphia, I think they're in. I know you guys, for some reason, it feels like you guys have some bad feeling for Philadelphia as far as the quality of their play, but I've watched them, and I mean, they're pretty consistent, especially in their midfield. So I like Philadelphia to be in the playoffs and be a contender and go a couple games in. Nobody mentioned Chicago. I don't mind the Fire. Brian, you got something to say there about Chicago, Bengals. Baby?
Bengals.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, the Bengals are miserable, bro.
The Chicago Fire are definitely on the outside end, though.
The Fire not making
playoffs. But they would be my long play, would be Chicago.
Yeah, they have the pieces. They just have not been able to figure it out this year.
What pieces?
At Chicago? Going into the season, let's go back and recap.
Oh, yeah, they did sign some guys. I remember that.
I'll pull this up here.
Google Chicago Fire, and it's like the 18th thing that comes up. It's hilarious.
I know.
so
Hugo-
low.
Yeah, there was
They-
a lot bigger Chicago Fire at some point.
They don't even have their own Reddit page because it's
Have
dedicated
another
to the TV show.
year of Hugo Kuipers. They,
Carolina Costa is their big
expect-
player.
yeah,
Come on now.
expecting Chris Mueller to be one of those players that just he has not since getting injured last year. I think it's. I mean, they got Tom Barlow for Christ's sakes. I mean,
Jabronis, these guys. Dude, you made a horrible point. Just own it. They don't
I'll
have
own
the
it.
pieces. They don't have
I'll
the
own
pieces.
it. They
They're
missed
terrible.
out
They're
on a
trash.
couple during the summer window, though. That's
So did we.
Hubers
Yeah,
Hubers and Kuipers was supposed to be like
They're-
doomsday, but they
Chicago Fire has a great MLS 2018 lineup. Very, very strong 2018
Agreed.
lineup.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, it's not 2018. I think it's pretty wild when you look at like.
Bastion.
I think it's pretty wild when you look at the way this thing could play out. Is some of these matchups have happened several times. Like Miami could be facing the winner of Toronto or NYCFC first match, and I think they ran into each other in the Leagues Cup as well. So these could be, we talked about it with the new rules where you get the best of three effectively, the opening round series. So this could be one of those years where that actually comes in effect, right? You really get an idea of what a team's going to throw at you. And for some of these teams, I mean, they're younger, they have more pace. Especially New York City FC. I think that's a team, we just saw it. They took it right to Messi, scoring that late goal up there in Yankee Stadium. So I think they could be toe-to-toe with them if they get through the wild card game.
All right, fun one before we get into our final thoughts. Anyone cheering on Columbus versus Club America in Campiones Cup?
No,
Absolutely
one.
not.
No one. Absolutely no one.
No.
I didn't know.
Are you like, did you get something down in Nashville that made you like ridiculous?
I thought at least one of you would be country over club rivalry.
Hell no.
Not in this-
What is the
where's
Campiones Cup even? What is the stand?
It's
Biggest title? Liga MX versus what?
it's MLS versus Liga MX.
Hey, all I'm
Champions.
saying is I'm just
Yep.
glad that they need another 90 minutes on their legs.
Yeah, where's this match at? Is this in Columbus?
Mhm.
Okay. So no excuses about dysentery and all that stuff. They could just get throttled and it'll be fine.
I don't know. They could have White Castle.
It's true.
Who?
Gold Star.
That's God's food, and you do not disrespect it. Now, if you want to feed him ranch dressing, that's Satan's food, and we can have that discussion.
Okay.
That's my go-to after the MLS matches here at home. Is hitting White Castle on the way home at 11 o'clock.
Really?
You're such
Absolutely.
a gem, Bill. I love you.
Right? I know.
Classy. The garlic sliders are back. They're tremendous.
I haven't been a White Castle.
Chicken
in a
sandwiches are big here.
I know.
Wow.
DoorDash that stuff. It's
I'm
wonderful.
Shocked. All right. We'll get into your final thoughts. I apologize if it's White Castle and I stole it from you. But well, first up, we'll go to Bill. Give us what's on your mind as we close out the show.
Well, I think I heard on the MLS broadcast against Nashville that all season we have never started the same lineup in the same spot. Is that correct?
But
That
we've
is
only had
absolutely correct.
two 11s that were the same, but their positions were not the same.
Different.
Back-to-back games, I think.
So it's never been okay. So it just I guess that's what I'm looking forward to is over this next 4 matches. I can't underscore the importance. I mean, I like where we're sitting, right? I'm going to say second. Had you asked me in the first month and a half of the season, I'd said it's going to be a rough, let's just hope to make the playoffs kind of year. Noonan's been very agile. I think we've gone out and got a couple of acquisitions, albeit to Brian's point, maybe not the ones we really wanted or needed. Brian, a true striker would have been a wonderful grab. Just wasn't to be had this go around. I just want to see some consistency in the lineup. I've mentioned it before. I just want to see the same team in the same spot to start a couple games in a row and see what we can do with that lineup. And if it doesn't work, then you got to change quickly. But I haven't seen that yet this year. And I get injuries a big thing, and the name Miazga changes a lot of things, but that's for a discussion next year. So Brighter days ahead. I'm really looking forward to the playoffs. I'm just hoping most of the games are here at home.
Amen. With you there.
Not at these ticket prices.
Oh, you know what Brian's talking about. All right, Justin, final thoughts.
Now, my final thought is the man, the myth, the legend, Lucho Acosta. Better be on that MVP finalists. I know they can get probably a little bit too poetic and try to find random loopholes and like, oh, this is why this is significant. No, he is the most valuable player in the league, bar none. And he better be on the finalist list. He should be the winner, but I'm sure there'll be a few contentions. But Lucho Acosta means everything to his team. His season's been better than probably it was last year, and that's really saying something. He's had to, introduce himself to 6 new starters on this team, and still is playing this dang good. So,
Dude,
hats off to Lucho.
Legit though, they have one directive when playing next to Lucho Acosta. It's just don't get in his way.
Yeah, don't.
If you can do that, you can start on this team.
Prepare to be disappointed, Justin. I don't think he's got it this year.
Finalist. He didn't say he needs to win it. He just said finalist.
Yeah.
It's respect.
I
Throw
do
some
think-
respect on that name.
I do think he'll be a finalist. I'll give you that one.
My God,
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, you stink today.
All right, Brian. Well, what's
Brian's final thought?
what's your soccer final take?
I just can't fathom this. In all honesty, I just can't wait for the playoffs to start because it's just kind of that put up or shut up year, and I still think we're good enough to win it all. There's so many still good pieces on this team to be hopeful, and that's what you hear a lot of is a lot of hope. Hope we can get this. Hope we can, make that work. And I still think we can do it. Let's punch LAFC in the mouth this weekend and get 3 points. So excited for it.
All righty. My final thought is go share this podcast with a friend because you're all watching the Bengals and not on our live show tonight. So.
No, I'll tell you what. I think everybody's coming over here right now.
Yeah. Oh, really? Should we go an extra hour to get the attendance back up to where it normally
Let's
is?
do it.
This Bengals game is brutal.
We can start talking about Romania again.
Yeah.
That was so good. I was so proud of you.
Well, we're punishing ourselves by doing it on Bengals night, but we know that a lot of you want to be able to turn this thing on Tuesday morning in your cars. So we hope you enjoy it, and glad we got through a solid episode. And really, I'm the same as you guys, optimistic, looking forward to the future, and I'm pumped to get back to TQL Stadium after traveling all last week, and I think it'll be a good home one. All right, well, we'll see you again next week. Tune in to CST. Check out the post game, post weekend match show, and then we only have 1 or 2 more before the playoffs. So just stay tuned.